My name is Anders Adali. I was a professional robber for 10 years in Sweden. I started robbing banks, to post offices, and in the end just robbing money trucks. In Sweden, I know between 1998 and 2004, there was 225 robberies. That's around one robbery a week. Someone robbing a bank or a truck.
The target is the G4S cash storage facility just outside central Stockholm. It's kind of Stockholm's Federal Reserve. This is where money that goes through Stockholm's ATMs and to the public is stored. It's an apparently impregnable box of cash.
This cash centre handles $150 million worth of cash.
The challenges are pretty huge. There are over 150 cameras. There are 20 people in the building. It's on the 6th floor.
And once you get to the 6th floor, there are interior windows made of bulletproof glass and a custom-made security steel door guarding the counting room that can withstand a 15-minute assault.
And Goran Bojovic is the mastermind in this gang.
Goran, the tall man, is something of a playboy. He likes the finer things. He doesn't have a string of criminal convictions following him. He runs an apparently legitimate construction business. The Swedish police, however, take a slightly more cynical view that he is a link between organised crime in Stockholm and organised crime in Serbia and Montenegro.
Society is built on a schedule. It's a schedule when you go to work, when you leave your kids out in school, and when you get your money. You get the salary the 25th. Every month it pays out. So 1 or 2 up to 3 days before the 25th, you know they're gonna stack up extra much money in the money depot. That's when they start preparing for it, filling up the ATM machines, filling up the cases.
There will be more cash in that building on that day of the month than any other day. Goran decides the perfect day for the robbery is the 23rd of September. And that gives him 4 months to plan.
And one of the first people that he recruits is an old cohort, Charbel Charo, otherwise known as the Teacher.
By 2009, Charbel Charo has become one of Sweden's top criminals.
He's working with children and young people in youth centres, especially teaching PE and football and soccer.
Goran Bojovic and Charbel Charo realised that going in by normal means through the front door is going to have lots of problems, and that there is this pyramid skylight on the roof, which isn't actually that fortified. And so, if the cash is being counted on the 6th floor and you have a glass roof, that potentially could be the way in.
The muscle, he very much has that desire to win. He has a background as a heavyweight boxer. He knows exactly what he's doing. So he's useful when it comes to smashing through the glass roof, but he's also somebody who you look at and you think, I would not mess with that individual. Mikhail Sodergran, Mr. Dynamite. Now, his background is quite different from the other two. He comes from quite a stable, middle-class home, but he goes travelling and he realises that he's got quite an appetite for extreme sports. So this inner adrenaline junkie within him comes out, and that's what makes him go into bank robbery.
The team have figured out how to breach the glass pyramid, how to get to the 5th floor and then to the 6th floor. Mr. Dynamite, an expert in explosives, would have to figure out the best way to defeat the ballistic windows and also the reinforced door. But the glaring obstacle to their plan is how to get to the roof. And the only solution they can use to deploy their entire team is to do it by helicopter.
The police can't shoot down the helicopter when it's in the center of the city because it will crash, people would die.
Alexander Eriksson is not from the same world as the other members of the gang. He's somebody who works in television. He is someone who has a helicopter license.
He's actually from a very wealthy stock. His father is serious in Stockholm's banking scene. But here he is, considering entering into a criminal conspiracy to rob with serious criminals. The heist is on. 11 G4S employees have come to work that night to count money on one of the busiest nights of the year. They probably don't expect anything particularly eventful to happen that night. The sound of the rotors gets closer, and it seems a bit strange.
In this building, there are hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're under attack.
The muscle goes straight to the glass.
De håller på att ta sig in genom våra fönster här på Västerälgen.
After only half a dozen strikes, they're through the glass. The first line of defense is breached.
As Kadum smashes his way through the glass pyramid, he manages to cut himself, which is not good. They then lower these specially measured ladders. The team descend perfectly onto the 5th floor, ready to then mount their attack on the 6th.
After a few minutes, the police are informed and they quickly make their way down there. Goran Bojovic, he stays well away from the crime taking place, monitoring what's going on, essentially giving directions from a location nowhere near the G4S depot.
You have the police scanners, so you can listen what the police are doing and what the routines are, so you're always a few steps ahead.
As the police mobilize quickly to the G4S building, the vehicle's tires are taken out, and only once they get out of the vehicles do they realize that the team have been very clever and put out spiked chains to hinder their response. They have their second obstacle ahead of them, the reinforced window.
I've used explosive, blowing up doors to get inside. It's so important just with the grams, how much you have and not have. If you have too little, it's not gonna open up. You have too much, it's just damage. You blow up everything to pieces.
Mikael Södergran is earning his name as Mr. Dynamite. They can scuttle up the ladder and can now get to their third obstacle, the steel reinforced door.
Time is ticking away. The clock is running down.
Mr. Dynamite leaves soda cans with explosives magnetized to the door.
For many of the people in that counting room who would have been absolutely terrified at this, they would have been thinking, will they ever see their families again? Are they actually going to get to go home?
The first charge was a warning shot. It's giving the staff inside the room sufficient time to evacuate, minimizing the chances for human injury, casualty, or even hostage taking. And they all evacuated.
Just 30 seconds after the last staff member leaves the room, a shoulder barge from the muscle, Kadum, the gang are inside the cash room.
The gang is entering the cash room, and there are the cages. All the money's in there, and there are locks on the cages. Then they have a circle saw, a perfect tool for heist, the beast. I mean, when you see millions and millions of dollars, I know you get a big smile. You're 100% going to get that little extra adrenaline rush. You get excited, but then that's just a few seconds. Then you just, let's do this, you know.
The pilots on shift sprint towards the door of their hangar. They see a black box with a flashing red light on it. They stop in their tracks. As far as they're concerned, that could be a bomb.
The way they did it, how they disabled the police, that's a job within the job. If you come and see it says a bomb on a big box, you're not going to go and touch it because there's been so many bombs in Sweden that blow up.
What the police don't know is that this is just a cheap plastic toolbox with a red LED flashing on top, which Boyevic's accomplices have intentionally placed there in the lead up to the heist.
The bomb squad are called. No police helicopters will be taking off for the time being.
When you pack that money, now you got to carry money out. As soon as possible, just get out of there. Get up to the helicopter.
As the door of the helicopter clicks shut, the heist gang have already taken off and are flying away. As police watch on from a distance, helpless.
A manhunt is underway this morning in Sweden for thieves who carried out a high-flying heist.
A reward of 7 million Swedish kroner, that's about $1 million, has been offered, indicating just how big this heist was.
And this is where the stolen getaway helicopter landed, in fields in the northern suburbs of the capital. Police set a cordon well away from the helicopter.
Helikoptern, som nu noggrant undersöks av polisen, är den viktigaste ledtråden för att kunna lösa det spektakulära rånet.
With investigations, what I tend to find is the leads for the police are caused from the criminals making the smallest mistakes. The police retrieve a GPS unit from the helicopter that was used, and in that were waypoints, which are essentially places that the helicopter would have stopped off at. When you start analysing all of the phone data of those specific waypoints, it would have given you a good indication of what phones would have been used at the time of the heist. And after 4 days of hard work, the investigation team identified 14 burner phones that were used by these criminals.
Kön till Stockholms säkerhetssal var lång i morse. Det var inte bara media som ville vara med om rättegången för det mest spektakulära rånet hittills i Sveriges historia.
Goran Bojevic, the tall man, 3 years for planning the robbery. The shortest sentence of the gang because he couldn't be tied to the building. Charbel Charo, the teacher, 5 years, also for planning the G4S robbery. Safa Kadum, the muscle, 7 years for storming the depot with an assault rifle. Mikhail Sodergren, Mr. Dynamite, 5 years for his role in the heist. And Alexander Eriksson, the pilot, he was found guilty of stealing and piloting the helicopter. 7 years.
For the gang to get 3 to 7 years in prison for something like this goes to show that Sweden, at that specific time, were quite lenient on sentencing. So overall, $5.3 million was stolen in this heist, and only $8,000 was retrieved. So essentially, you still have a lot of money still out there.
But they did something no other gang in the world has ever done, and they did a movie thing, Mission Impossible, land with a helicopter, got over $5 million and took off. A few guys got nicked by it, but that's it. No money is found, ever.
The $5.3 million question is, did they really steal all the money in Stockholm?